Hey viewers, Brian JT Watts here with you once again. Today is going to be a different kind of show because we do not have a guest. I will be answering questions that have been asked about Come Together and things that we're trying to do. So right after the intro, I will be getting with you with those questions. All right. See you soon. This is the greatest game of telephone that has ever been played. Someone said the black man doesn't raise his kids or care for his family, and that message is still being told to everyone today. They even have us saying,
We are not a monolith. We have various opinions and thoughts. We are much more than what we are portrayed to be by the media.
even when we are the victims of injustice, we are still portrayed as the perpetrators. When it comes to the black man, there is an intentional plan to discredit the past, arrest the present, and destroy the future. Something must be done, but nothing will work until we come together.
My name is Tamika Lynn Bambi Sampson, and I love Black men for their passion, their strength, their love for their families, um, their physique, their talents, their focus, their walk, um, their swag, all of that, having all of that and having to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, and just the fact that a black man could walk in a room and still just take up the room just by all of his confidence and his swag and his style. That is why I love black men. But most importantly, I love black men because I've been loved. And my first love was a black man, and that was my father. So he was a perfect example of what a black man is. And that's why I love black men. And that's why I was blessed to marry an amazing black man.
All right, y'all. How you doing today? Once again, this is Brian J.T. Watts, and I'm here to host today's episode where I will just be answering questions that have been asked of me about Come Together. Ever since Come Together came out, it's been a lot of people asking questions about the show and different things. So I'm going to answer all of those today as your guest. So basically, interviewing myself. First question was just about me, like who am I? What have I done? And why am I hosting this show? So my name is Brian John Thomas Watts. I am an educator. I've been teaching math since 1997. I grew up in New York City, Bronx, New York, and yes, big Yankee fan. And I went to school, went to a private elementary school, R.T. Hudson Elementary School, then to A. Philip Randolph Campus High School in Harlem, and I was a part of the Mason Medical Professions program. Then I went on to Oakwood College, where I majored in mathematics. Then I moved to Nashville and worked there as a teacher, and went to TSU, Tennessee State University, for my master's and educational specialist degree in administration and supervision. And since then, I have moved back to New York, worked in New York for a while for Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. Then I had the great pleasure of teaching overseas in Kuwait for 2 years. And now I'm here back in the great state of Maryland and teaching mathematics here as well. So I've done a lot in education, been a teacher, administrator, consultant, and you know, it's a nice field education to be in, but I feel like I have more of a 360 view of it, having been a teacher, a consultant, and an administrator. Also, the author of a book, How to Help Your Children Help Themselves, which is a manual for parents to teach them how to sort of tap into that uniqueness of their child. If you have students from first to 12th grade, this is a book for you. So the next question is, what is Come Together all about? Come Together is a show that is dedicated to exposing the positivity of Black men on two different fronts. One, to show you positive Black men who will be on the show, who I'll be interviewing, and also to talk about the positive things that they're doing for the community. So, on the 19 shows that we've had already, all of these men are people that are very respectable in their community, very positive men. They are people who give to their community and do things that help to enhance their community, people who take care of families, and just very positive guys. And I wanted to expose them because there are so many things that are out there as far as the reputation for Black men that I thought were very negative. And not to say that they're untrue about every single Black man, but they're not true about the majority. And it's a real crime, or just a real travesty, to have a small amount of people mess up a reputation for a large amount of people. I think it's purposeful. I think it's definitely to help keep us in a state where we cannot rise to our full potential. But I definitely wanted to expose this. And when I was younger and in church, whenever we would come up with something that we thought needed to be done in church, I remember the pastor would say, if you came up with this ministry, then that's probably something you should do. So I thought about it and I said, hey, this is something that I think should happen. So that's what happened. And here we go. We come together. Why me? Why would I be the person to do something like this? Well, I grew up in the projects of the South Bronx, and I saw a lot growing up. I saw Black and Hispanic men who sold drugs. I saw Black and Hispanic men who didn't. I saw men who took care of their families, who lived with their families. I saw men who visited their children and their wives or girlfriends or ex-wives. And there were times where families that I knew that there was no man there at all. There were men in church that I saw that were great fathers. There were kids that I knew whose fathers showed up, every once in a while to hang out with them or take them out. And then there were kids who I knew who might not even know who their father was. There were men who were just involved in all types of things, men who went to work every day, some men who hung out every day, people who were involved in illegal things, people who were very educated and went to school and did everything. I saw Black and Hispanic men in every way that they could possibly be. And that's why I don't like to hear that, Black men don't take care of their children, or Black men are just on the street and smoking weed and playing video games and doing all these things that is a small percentage of. There are people in every race doing all of these things. There are people doing negative things in every race that you can possibly think of, and to about the same numbers that Black men are. So I've seen them great, I've seen them not so great, and I knew that it was just a bad thing to keep hearing that this is what Black men were, especially after we've had so many Black men doing great things in our country. I mean, the two biggest Black men I saw in our political realm were Colin Powell and Barack Obama, and people made it seem as if these two guys were just anomalies. This doesn't happen often. But no, there's plenty of guys. In fact, Colin Powell is from the South Bronx, just like I am. I mean, he's not from anywhere different, any place that was great as far as finances or insanely great schools that people notice and anything. He went to Morris High School, right down the street from the elementary school I went to. In fact, that was my zoned high school. So it's weird that people act like, we all live in the ghetto. Yes, I did. And there were great things that came out of the ghetto as well. So I think that it was put upon me to do this because of what I saw and what I went through, and how I know that this is not the way that it has to be. So that is the reason why I am probably hosting this show and doing this, because I know there are plenty of brothers out there doing great things and doing things the way that they should be done. We don't get props for it, and most of us aren't looking for props for it, but definitely don't want to see a negative spin on the way that most of us are living. Because when we keep saying things like that, or things like that keep being said about us, it's believed. We even have, if you saw the opening to the show, they even have us saying it now. You hear pastors preaching things then about negative about black men and speakers, and even politicians saying these things about our community that aren't necessarily true. So I desperately want people to see the positive side. And one of my friends, Kenny Anderson, actually one of my mentors, who was the first guest on the show, said the only way that we were going to get past it is if we start to celebrate the good things that are happening the same way that people are celebrating or putting out those bad things that are happening. So that's what I'm trying to do. What are some of the big issues that I see in our community that I want to address? But before that, we're going to pause. I'm going to answer that. But we're going to pause for a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
My name is Chanel Coleman Wesley, and I love Black men because Black men, you are amazing. You are powerful. You are unstoppable. You are unbreakable. I love you for your resiliency. I love you for your tenacious spirit. I love you for the ability to be able to be overcomers. I love you because you are strong. I love you because you are powerful. I love you because you are uniquely you. Black men, you are amazing and you are loved.
Okay, so we're back, and the question was, what are some of the issues in our community that I think that need to be addressed? And in the African American community, there are plenty of issues. I think that one of the biggest ones is that we have been severely indoctrinated. Coming to America was probably it had to be just a very overwhelming experience, to say the least. Many people died, people being enslaved and just treated in ways that are unimaginable just to make this country great. And a lot of us were taught in school that we didn't really do much. They don't really give the African Americans that were here as slaves credit for doing much. And it made it seem like, when I was young, I know I always thought that the white owners, slave owners, taught the slaves how to do everything and then just let them do it. But what I found out uh, in recent years, to my embarrassment, was that they went and got slaves who knew how to do these things. They sought out people who knew how to plant sweet potatoes and plant sugar cane or till the land. Well, they went and got, just like how you go to a headhunter finds people for jobs here. That was what they were doing. They were finding the people who they knew had these talents and bringing them over here and having them do that. And that shows that there was a lot of education in these so-called slaves. Also, we've been indoctrinated to think that what we were taught by them, or the way that we were taught to be Americanized, is the best way to be. A lot of us don't get to travel internationally, and for some who probably could travel internationally don't, because people tell us that we wouldn't be welcome in a lot of countries. I heard that a lot when I was younger, and even as an adult, I heard that, don't go to that country. They don't like black people, and this and other, which is usually not the case. I believe that this happens because when we travel, we start to realize that a lot of things that we learned here and that we were sort of indoctrinated on are not true around the world. And so there are things that we have learned, and that ways that we have been while we're here, that are not really healthy for us and not really good for our success, but they hold us down. And there's got to be something like that going on, because there's no reason why we have not been able to rise to certain levels of success. Now, I will tell you that, sure, black people are making more money now than they ever did, but there's also more money to be made now. There's still not a freedom to be ourselves and to do things in the way that we would like to have them done. Our communities don't have the same resources and everything that some other communities have. Education is still an issue, even though we went through the whole segregation and all of that. Still, you can go to schools now, and schools that are in poorer neighborhoods, which are usually mostly disproportionately Black and Hispanic. Those schools do not have the same resources that schools in white neighborhoods have. Um, there are still problems with housing, fair housing. There's still people whose land has been taken from them in different instances by the government. You still have unfair housing practices in many neighborhoods that do not want Blacks or Hispanics to live in their neighborhoods. There's so many things. There are people that you might know who have money and should be able to live wherever they want, and they cannot. And it's just a mess. There's still disproportionate resources given as far as aid and things of that nature. So to me, the fix for all of this is education. If we could be educated on the things that are going on, because most of us don't know what's going on in other people's communities. If we could see how Jewish communities are thriving, and how Italian communities and most of the Asian communities and all of these other communities, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant communities are faring in our country, we would start to see how things are disproportionate. Healthcare, oh my goodness, healthcare is just amazing how some Black people are being treated as far as being able to get insurance, as far as being treated in hospitals and things of that nature. There are so many things that we're still being discriminated against with, and it's definitely something that needs to change. There are big problems across our country, and I'm not one of those to say that oh, the white man has his foot on my neck and what have you, but it's a problem because most of us have been taught to be a certain way now, and we're not fighting against it. If you look at the crime that has happened in our communities, you see that for the last maybe 15, 20 years, we have been the bulk of police brutality on Black and Hispanic men, Blacks more in particular. And there are cases that are coming up of just Black people, period, not just Black men, but women as well. And these cases most times do not go to guilty verdicts for those who initiated the crime. So there are problems that are still going on. And anyone who thinks that there's no problems with racism or discrimination are seriously mistaken. So I think that there's a lot that needs to be taught to us, that needs to be told, and we need to really take care of that.
Hey, everybody, it's your girl, Crystal P. And I love Black men because they ride hard for their Black women. Nobody has your back like a Black man. He knows your troubles, he knows your struggles. And if he doesn't, he'll learn about them. But he goes hard in the paint for you. And that's why I love them.